In 1971, a man hijacked a plane. He demanded $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. Then he jumped into a thunderstorm and vanished. It started on a Wednesday, Portland International Airport, rain, cold, November 24, 1971. A man in his mid-40s walks up to the counter, dark suit, sunglasses, no luggage. He buys a one-way ticket to Seattle in cash, under the name Dan Cooper. 20 minutes into the flight, he hands the flight attendant a note. She assumes it's a phone number and puts it in her purse. He leans in and tells her to read it. The note said he had a bomb and wanted her to sit with him. Inside, his demands were specific: $200,000, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck ready when they landed. The pilot radios the FBI. The airline agrees to cooperate. At 5:24 p.m., the plane lands in Seattle. The money and parachutes are delivered. The passengers are released. But Cooper wasn't done. He orders the plane back into the air. Destination Mexico City, but with the rear stairs down. Somewhere over southwest Washington, in the middle of a storm, the cabin pressure light came on. The crew felt the plane shift, and Cooper was gone. The plane landed safely in Reno. Cooper didn't, and what happened next would take the FBI 40 years, and they still wouldn't have an answer. Aviation experts have long debated whether the jump itself was survivable. The plane was flying at roughly 10,000 feet in freezing rain, with wind chill estimated well below zero. Cooper had never been confirmed to have parachute training. He jumped at night into unfamiliar terrain, wearing a business suit and loafers, not gear built for a wilderness landing. Some experts believe he likely didn't survive the descent itself. Others point out that the parachute he chose was a functional, steerable model, not the emergency reserve chute, suggesting he may have known exactly what he was doing. The next morning, over 200 FBI agents searched the forest. Dogs, helicopters, freezing rain. They found nothing. No body, no parachute, no money. Just a few unclear footprints that led nowhere. Over the next 4 decades, the FBI investigated more than 1,000 suspects. They tested the tie Cooper left behind for trace evidence. In 2016, the FBI redirected its resources away from the active investigation. The case remains formally unsolved. Over the decades, a handful of names surfaced as leading suspects. One was a Pacific Northwest resident who, before his death, made a deathbed claim to relatives that he was Cooper, though DNA testing later cast doubt on the claim. Another was an airline employee with skydiving and military experience, considered a strong candidate by some investigators, though never formally charged. A third was a man later convicted of a similar copycat hijacking, which led some to speculate a connection, though authorities found no direct evidence linking him to the original case. None of these leads were ever confirmed. Every lead went cold. Then, 9 years later, a child stumbled onto something the entire FBI had missed. In February 1980, an 8-year-old boy found nearly $6,000 on the banks of the Columbia River. The serial numbers match Cooper's ransom money exactly. The money was buried in sand, not scattered, which suggested someone had placed it there. Investigators also examined Cooper's tie. It contained microscopic traces of titanium and rare earth metals, materials found in specialized manufacturing environments, not everyday life. One tie, 3 theories, and only one of them fits everything the evidence actually shows. The first theory, he didn't survive the jump. The cold, the wind, and the terrain were nearly impossible to survive, and the money simply washed downstream years later. The evidence for this is straightforward: the extreme conditions and the lack of any confirmed sighting of Cooper alive. The evidence against it is the money itself, buried, not scattered, which is unusual for something carried by a river current. The second theory, he survived and escaped. He had planning, skill, and possibly help waiting on the ground. This is supported by how precisely Cooper planned every detail of the hijacking. It's challenged by the fact that the bills were marked with recorded serial numbers, making them extremely risky to spend. The third theory, Cooper had specialized knowledge, possibly from aviation or manufacturing work, explaining both his understanding of the aircraft and the metal traces found on his tie. This is supported by the physical evidence itself. It remains unproven because that evidence alone was never enough to identify a specific individual. Here's what the evidence actually supports. Whoever Cooper was, he planned meticulously, understood aircraft in detail, and by all available evidence, did not die on impact. But the money in the river tells us something happened afterward that we still don't understand. The FBI stopped looking, but one question never went away. Whoever Cooper was, he did something almost no one has ever done. He committed a serious federal crime, vanished completely, and was never identified. Some questions are answered by time. This one wasn't. So which theory do you believe? Did he die in that storm, escape into a new life, or was he someone with knowledge most hijackers never had? Drop your theory below. And if you're interested in cases like this, Zodiac, the Isdol woman, and others, new mysteries go up regularly on this channel.